Diamond Kisses is the fourth and final book in the Jewelry Box series. If you have not read Ruby Tears, Emerald Bruises, and Sapphire Scars, or listened to our episodes discussing them, we recommend you do so before continuing. If you're ready, buckle up because this is the finale.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you? That good,
Okay.
huh?
My cat woke me up this morning.
Oh,
He whacked me. Fucking asshole.
those damn cats.
I just wanted to sleep.
Too bad. You don't get to
So,
do that.
no.
No sleep for you.
Did you want to tell me what happens next
Oh my God.
on
Okay.
your adventure?
Last we left off, husband, best friend, banged at the camping retreat from work.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Of course, all of
She
this
set that
work.
up.
Yeah. All of this work is not that Jiwon, so Jiwon is the main character, is doing and the douche nugget. It's none of this is working because the douche nugget boyfriend slash husband person actually recruits Ji Hook, the manager guy, the like boss, into helping him propose to Jiwon.
Even though he
Uh-huh.
just banged the best friend.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. So this man,
So does the manager work against him and try to sabotage it?
what he does instead, this manager guy goes all out with a fancy house, which is the company's condo, and drones that spell out "Will you marry me" in the sky, and fireworks. Okay?
Does he do the wrong name?
No,
Oh,
no,
damn.
no, 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 no.
Come
Jiwon,
on.
yeah,
I'm holding on for you, buddy.
right? But he goes all out and he proposes. She ends up saying yes. It's
Even though she knows
just no. Oh,
she's playing the
yes.
long game. She's playing the long
Yeah.
game.
You got to play the long game sometimes. But anyways, so that all happens, and then
But he
Jiwon,
knows that she knows now. Okay. All right. I'm following. I'm following.
yeah. Jiwon's friend is talking to her, the douche, the bitch friend, and asking her if she's still upset at her for the whole camping situation. So the like getting into a fight, ripping off the thing, not the banging because they
Because, right, she's
don't
not supposed to
know.
know. Right.
And Jiwon is like, I am not, she's not having this shit. And the bitch goes fucking crazy because Jiwon is not having this. The best friend decides to go crazy and like steps towards the edge of the dock. The friend can't swim, by the way, and falls into the lake knowing she can't swim because she's like, Jiwon will save me because this lady is fucking batshit goddamn crazy. And of course, because Jiwon is a good person, she jumps in to help her because, she's a good person. And the best friend looks at her, smiles, and tries to drown the friend with her. Like starts pulling her down to like drown her. Yeah, this girl,
How does she think that her actions aren't obvious?
she's psychotic. Psychotic. Anyways, so she ends up like they do end up getting out of this fucking lake, and like the boss is coming running because he like is like, what the fuck, where are these two people? And he does see them get out. And everyone though at this retreat think like at this like meeting, because she's got a bunch of her coworkers there for this whole proposal, like this is a big thing. They think that she just tried to rescue her, not that the best friend literally tried to fucking kill her. But it's crazy. So they're all drinking, and everyone who is at the proposal is just going to stay at this condo because everyone's been drinking and having a good time. The husband heads into a room to sleep. Now, the best friend had been sleeping because she almost drowned, so she's resting. But the husband goes to go into him and Jiwon's room. Guess who's in there? The best friend. She's actually sleeping in that bed, and then they fuck. While everyone is downstairs, they fuck in this house. Ji-won is also realizing that getting these two together is not as easy as she thought. So like trying to get them to actually date and like be together, not just fuck. And so she
Yeah, because
explains
is that not the goal of the friend to get him for herself? Or is she like just okay?
the goal of the friend is, it comes out way later, but I'll kind of like, she wants what Ji-won has. That's all. Like,
Hmm.
and she just thinks, there's so much more that ends up happening like later on, and I can't wait to get to all of that. So Jiwan is realizing, yeah. So she explains to Ji-hook that the friend tried to drown her, and as she was grabbing her, like the chick was smiling. The two of them end up like going out, like they talk throughout the night, and then so like as the day is breaking, they end up actually going out on a boat together. The Jiwan and the boss end up going out on a boat together, and they're just relaxing and talking. And they have a cute little moment where he's telling her that he goes out on the lake sometimes to clear his head. And no one knows the future. However, they know more than other people know. So she shouldn't be scared. But that Sumin, which is her friend, is probably realizing that Jiwan is now not as easy as a target as she used to be, because she used to just do whatever. And so that's why she's going fucking crazy and like trying to drown her, like, because she wasn't doing that stuff before, but Jiwan's not giving her the stuff she wants anymore. Also, he wishes her a happy birthday because the fucking husband person had proposed on her birthday, and that was her birthday gift, by the way, was the proposal. The birthday gift was the proposal. It's crazy. So the next day at work, she's showing off her
I've
new
seen
ring.
that narcissistic behavior before.
Right?
Oh,
The
I've
next
had
day at
that.
work. Yeah, right. Yeah, but isn't this? No, that's not the same.
No, imagine that.
Yeah, so she's at work the next day showing off her new
But we
ring.
can't celebrate your birthday. It's our anniversary. This isn't about you. It's about us. You know how many times I've been told that?
So ridiculous. And the next day at work, she's showing off her like new ring. All the while, the fucking husband person and her best friend are like flirting in an office space together. And like it's crazy. But Jiwan is totally fucking playing this shit up. And
So
because
does
of
the
this,
husband not even like her?
he does, because so the main reason that he gives throughout to different people that he ends up talking to is that Jiwan is wife material. Like she's got a good job because she's a manager at this office, and her friend
Yeah.
is just like a contractor. So she's only got like, she's not a full-time employee here.
Right.
But she's got a job. She's very good at saving. Like she's got like a head. She is like perfect wife material, where the best friend is not wife material.
Side bitch material. In his
Exactly.
eyes.
Like,
yeah.
Exactly. So that is why he would marry Jiwan, because she could give a great life and all this other stuff, and the other girl can't give him. He is a leech, basically. So she's playing this all up.
Oh my goodness. Guess we'll have to find out what happens next. Well, we have been waiting and waiting and waiting. We started this journey with Ruby Tears, what, back in April?
Something like that.
Something like that. It's been quite a few months of this journey. And the last book in the Jewelry Box series is finally here, and we're ready to discuss it. But in case you're not 100% sure where we left off and you don't want us just to dive right in, last time on Sapphire Scars,
These are the days of our lives.
there was murder, plots of rebellion, and of course, Henry reclaiming humanity again. We left off on Halloween night, where at Victor's grand party, he revealed he knew of Illy and Peter's plotting to turn the jewels against him in an uprising. Victor also revealed that it was time for Henry's last test and that he would finally be a lifetime member. He needs to give Illy a diamond kiss. The party was brought to the special room, guards aplenty. Henry was given a knife and the directions, the last one being to cut out Illy's heart. Victor tells him to make the first cut, and that brings us to the start of Diamond Kisses. That's right. This week we finally got to read Diamond Kisses by Pepper Winters, the last installment of the Jewelry Box series. Take your seats. Let's begin. Crystal's got popcorn. I have to just like feed into it here.
I have popcorn ready, and I have my tea and my soft blanket for this story because
it's cozy and
Jesus,
warm.
the shit. And I need warmth for whatever the fuck happened.
And Crystal's ready just to cuddle up and be in.
Mostly I'm just excited because the amount of times I've
answers.
had to and the amount of times I've had to talk lately, I'm really enjoying the fact that I can just sit here and eat and just shut up for most of it. Yeah, it's great.
So Henry leans over Illy with the knife, But at the last second, he spins around and slashes wildly at Victor, scratching his chest. A guard grabs Henry by the throat as Henry takes the knife and slices the guard's throat. The rest of the room erupts, coming after him. He slices and stabs wherever he can. He's taking men down, left and right, thinking if he's going to go out, he's going to take every monster he can with him. Good strategy. The popcorn goes inside your mouth.
Well, wait till you see the dramatics that I did as you were describing what was happening. Welcome.
Victor is yelling for someone to stop him. More guards start pouring in the room. Henry calls to Peter, demanding he gets Illy out. The guards surround Peter and Illy too. Victor's yelling not to shoot Henry, just to incapacitate him. The guards manage to surround Henry and take him on at once, punching and kicking him until he's down, not trying to get back up. Illy's screaming. Victor's just gloating, blowing a kiss at her. Chaos. Pure fucking chaos. The guards continue until Henry's body is at all sorts of unnatural angles and his chest doesn't appear to be moving any longer. The guards fall back in line with apologies to Victor, saying they were just trying to protect him. Victor's mad, saying he had plans for Henry. Victor turns to Ileana and says, "You truly have a knack for avoiding the fate you deserve." He says it looks as if there won't be a diamond kiss tonight. Victor feels Henry's neck for a pulse, and then he rises quickly and tells the men to dump buckets of water on Henry. Henry, after many buckets, finally gasps and groans. Roland yells to just kill him and be done with it. Stuart suggests that they just wrap up the evening and get to the main house and actually start enjoying themselves. In that moment, Illy realizes neither him nor Ben tried to assist Henry in any way during this time. Victor snaps at Stuart because he says that he just wants to get back to his girl and that he's almost getting as bad as Henry and that Victor's sick of it. That his amusement with Stuart and Ben is fading. That he's sick of everyone lying to him. He is full on ranting at this point, and then he points to Illy and laughs, saying, "She's actually the only one who is always upfront and honest with him. She openly hates him and is not afraid to do so." He asks if she thought she could actually beat him, though. That he found and destroyed all the bombs. That she is the one who poisoned Peter against him and swayed Henry. That Illy is the true rot. And with rot, you have to cut it out. Illy tells him love always wins. Victor says, let's test that theory, shall we? He tells the men to sit up Henry, and that obviously elicits quite a scream from the not very conscious Henry, with his body at several different angles, don't forget. He tells them to pop his dislocated shoulder that's just flailing about back in. Another agonizing, mostly unconscious scream. He tells them to place Henry on the altar. Henry starts coughing up blood. Illy says, "You have to help him." Victor says, do I? And makes it clear that he knows everything Henry has done and lied about, that nothing has actually escaped Victor. His cameras have picked up all of it.
He is a good villain,
Mm-hmm.
but I know he lost me in the last book because of the, child trafficking part.
He's still a good villain, though.
He is.
He's just unhinged and not like.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Like the amount of unhinged that this man is.
I think Q summed it up really well because he said he was almost like a mastermind, but that his unpredictability not only made it hard for him to be captured, but also made him so unhinged and just crazy.
Yeah, this man is insane.
It brings his charm a little bit. Makes his villainess a little interesting.
And then shit just keeps getting fucking crazier and crazier. You think he's and keep in mind, guys, this is like the first less than 10% of the book. This is literally the very beginning of the book, and it can only go crazy from here.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we're not done. Yeah. Illy says, "You have me. Just let Henry go." And Henry comes to sort of barely. in a way just to kind of almost argue the same point but opposite. It's like his subconscious won't like be out enough to let Illy put herself on the line for him. Like, no, take me instead. Victor says, I saw Illy's power over you, and I mimicked it. I mimicked it for friendship purposes. When she shared a part of herself, I did to you too. When she told you a secret, I told you one too, etc., etc. And then I give you this test to choose, and you still choose her. I did all the same steps, and you still choose her. Victor's not happy.
Someone sounds a little jealous.
So now you have one choice left now. Now that you have my secrets, you can either die or finish the diamond kiss. Henry says just to kill him and get it over with. Victor clearly was not expecting that for an answer and does not have any follow through with the boy on the playground who doesn't want to play with him, that he doesn't want to leave alone. So he's not going to get rid of his toy just yet.
Listen, this boy only breaks his favorite toys.
My boy
That's all I could think
only
of.
breaks his favorite
His
toys.
Toys.
He says, what would you give me if I agreed to let Illy live? A little longer, for now at least. He's grasping. You're showing your hand, Victor. Henry, in almost disbelief, realizes what Crystal just realized or said out loud a few moments ago. Victor's jealous. He realizes Victor wants him. He says, you want something that you can't have. Victor doesn't like to hear any of this or the implication of all that Henry is saying. And he tries one more time to urge Henry to finish the diamond kiss, but Henry flings the knife away towards Victor, and someone smashes the butt of their gun down on Henry's head. Victor gets a box and out of it secures golden cuffs to Henry. Illy starts freaking out until someone hits her over the head, knocking her out as well. And that was the first scene of the book.
Yeah.
When Henry can remain conscious enough to actually be awake and form coherent thoughts, he wakes to Illy, Peter, and himself shackled in a dungeon. Apparently, it has been 27 days of drifting in and out of the freezing cold place. The casts and bandages managing to give him at least a bit of warmth. Dr. Belford has been in to treat Henry, and guards have been in to bring them just enough food and water to keep them alive. Barely. But there has been no sign of Victor. Well, that is until 33 days in total have passed. Victor comes to them when they are gaunt and weakened and surely not going to be able to fight back. Henry puts up a good show, though, standing and pretending like he isn't in pain and on the verge of passing out. Victor says he is going to make sure Henry becomes his most sought-after jewel in his collection. Collared and cuffed as he is, he will need to go through all the levels of obedience training. Do we remember the levels from, what was it, Ruby Tears? Oh boy.
Row.
Yep. Victor is going to personally oversee Henry's breaking to prove that Victor doesn't need anyone.
Because listen, Victor, my boy, only breaks his favorite toys. And Henry is definitely his favorite toy. And has been from day one. Because pretty sure he wants to bang him in the ass, but that's besides the
He
point.
does, very much so.
Or the other way. No, he wouldn't like it the other way around. He's too
that
much
was
of a
the
control freak.
implications I was talking about earlier.
I don't know. I know.
And if Henry doesn't submit, it will be Illy who will receive every punishment in his place. And as for Illy, if she steps out of line, Peter will pay the price. And with that, he blew them kisses and concluded his visit. A few days later, Henry and Illy are both up in the middle of the night worrying from across the dungeon. Illy and Peter are on one side, Henry on the other, and both Henry and Illy wish they could just reach each other. Illy asks how old Henry is, since it never actually came up in all the, captivity and shit. He's turning 30 soon. They learn that they share the same birthday. Another tick on the twin flame box for Illy. Illy tries to plead with him not to give in to Victor, to let her take it. She's used to his shit. Henry's like, absolutely not. What are you new? He says he won't let Victor break him. He will always come back to her. They're interrupted by 4 armed guards arriving. Apparently, their time in the dungeon is up. Da-da-da. They're brought into the house and showed to separate rooms and told to shower. Once showered and shaved, Henry is surprised by Dr. Belford's appearance in the room next. She's there to cut his casts off. He's confused since it hasn't been nearly enough time. She agrees, but these were her orders. She cuts off the casts, but injects a syringe and tells him it should help the pain for a few days and give him a boost, just not to show it. Henry is brought out to where Victor is having coffee. Rachel sits beside him, clearly being treated better now with the baby. Thankfully, Illy and Peter are not there. Victor tells Henry to kneel for him. In that moment, in actual reality, he finds it's not as easy to just obey and tells Victor no. Victor says, one more chance, as he takes out the remote. Henry basically tells him to fuck himself, and then Henry experiences the other end of the remote and goes down to the floor in a world of pain. Victor tells the guards to chain Henry to the stage and tells Henry to get some sleep, that he will need it.
And of course, like, all Henry can think of is like, this is what the fuck I put her through. Holy shit.
I put other Jules through this. I put Illy through this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Side note, I do wish that they had zapped Victor quite a few times.
Same.
Just because Henry got to realize how, and then I just wished he had turned to that and used that. But, Illy, left alone in the room the entire time, with nothing to do but wish for rescue, is finally being brought out to join Henry, who is strapped to the maypole, and Peter, who must have been brought in shortly before her. The masters seem to be all gathered at the tables having dinner. Another torture, since they haven't eaten since being released from the dungeon. And even in there was barely slight rations. After a 2-hour dinner, Victor gets up and calls attention to the stage. The other masters are getting rowdy, asking if they will get a turn with Henry. Victor says he didn't realize so many would be willing to exchange their pretty jewel for time with him. One explains that Henry represents betrayal, and everyone has someone in their lives that has betrayed them, so that it's like they can make Henry and what he represents pay. Victor likes this, but says as it was his betrayal, he should have first dibs. Again, because he's your toy. We get it. You don't want to share. We get it. Calm down. Henry, of course, mouths off, telling him that Victor will be the one to pay in the end. Victor says that he was hoping Henry would just behave and submit, and in exchange he would have fed Illy and let her go to bed. But now that is no longer on the table. Victor snaps his fingers and demands Henry be blindfolded, gagged, and earmuffed, a night of no senses, and he wouldn't know what's going on and to whom. The masters retired elsewhere, though, and the three spent a cold, hungry night chained to the stage.
Wasn't Illy also very, if I remember, wasn't she very mouthy in the beginning too?
Mm-hmm.
So it's full circle for the two of them. They both don't know how to shut the fuck up.
When Victor comes in the morning, he is pissed that Peter peed on the floor of the stage.
He's also probably pissed because he didn't also get to come. Sorry.
He's
Sorry.
probably pissed that Peter didn't pee on him.
This man is wild.
He takes the stuff off Henry and tells him, you will obey me now, and your eyes belong to me. When I'm in the room, if you look at Eliana, not me, I will whip her. Henry lunges towards him, and Victor is like, okay, the hard way, and grabs a whip and whips Illy until she also pisses herself. Then he goes back to Henry and continues and says, your voice belongs to me. You don't speak unless it's to me. And that if you test, Ileana will pay. Now he's proven that point. So Henry submits and says he understands. Victor's happy and leaves once again. The next few weeks are full of Victor's trainings of Henry. Well, mostly trying to see how much he will obey, mixed with constant torture and beatings. Henry has retreated, the only way he can partially protect himself and protect Illy. Victor says that it's time to up the stage of Henry's training, that Rachel will be due fairly soon, and he promised her a reprieve for 2 months after the baby is born. He knows Henry isn't quite there yet, but they need to start taking baby steps. Victor tells Henry to kiss his cock. He obviously hesitates, so Victor instructs someone to grab Illy and fuck her, and if Henry even twitches wrong, the man can cut off Illy's breasts. Henry complies, listening to Illy's cries.
Psycho.
And then we get a scene in Q's point of view. And I was like, oh.
It's so funny because it took everything in me to not text you because I was way further ahead than you at this point. And I'm like, oh, Ariel's going to get so excited because Q is involved
The
now.
second I saw his name on the front of the chapter, I was just like, yes, okay, we're in it. We're here. We got this. Let's go. We can do this. Like, down, down, down. We get a scene in Q's POV, a very pissed Q in the aftermath of his son's kidnapping attempt and fiasco. Q gets a call from someone, a blocked number, saying he should recheck the cufflinks.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. Oh no, I forgot to sing you my song.
What song?
I want to show you what my brain came up with in the middle of the night when apparently it didn't want me to sleep. Are you ready for it? Knew he was a Mercer. First time that I saw him. Wondered how many girls he had seen and got taken. But if he is sadist, she can be a masochist. Victor's got him trapped now. Now, some master's trying too hard. He don't try at all though. Except for taking lives, yeah, he do that a lot. So she see nothing better. She gonna take him with her like an escaper. I see how this is gonna go. Time to fight. Ready, let's go. Time for diamond kisses. Let's start this show. It's time for I can't do it anymore. I woke up in the middle of the night singing that. We don't probably need the rest of the world to hear that, so it's okay.
No. No, we need it.
Maybe I will not wake up like that again.
Why? This is the greatest day of my life.
I need a fan. Overheated.
I love when you do embarrassing things because it makes things so much more fun.
I can't believe I just wanted to show you that, but like it was in my head, so I needed to show you.
I will get the instrumentals.
Okay, well, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Illy is awakened by the maid being in her room, who had been aiding them before, in the time before, when all the good stuff was going on. She's sneaking into her room under the guise of towels, and she whispers that Christmas is in 2 days and that the gifts are ready. Illy's confused, as are we. Victor announced that he found all of the, quote, gifts and destroyed them all, and that he knew about this plan. So the plan for Christmas is still going on? What's going on? How is this really possible? Is it possible? All the jewels were thoroughly punished, and now they seem to walk with more fear. Like, is there anybody left that would be willing to take on this challenge? There are more rifts with the masters, though. Victor doesn't seem to realize, but they aren't liking his obsession with Henry and how he's blatantly doing so many things that they're forbidden to do. Well, Illy thinks this until Victor stands and announces at the end of dinner how he is aware of just that, causing Illy to internally groan. Does he truly notice all? Victor sends Henry up to be chained, because he's not a baby, up to be chained to the stage.
Well, an argument could be made him being a baby.
Aren't all men kind of man babies?
So many of them. Again, we accidentally hurt little poor man feelings all the time. They're just giant babies. I say that as a woman in a very long-term relationship with a man. So it's fine. I can say it too. I don't care. Sometimes men have little tiny baby man feelings and they need to suck it up.
Sometimes they have little tiny baby. Never mind.
Chapsticks. And again, I ask, why are you here? I think I'm so funny. I'm so sorry. That's gonna be the new. Why are you here?
It's going to be your new tagline.
It's the clip. Why are you here? I'm talking to you.
She doesn't mean you who actually listen to us and like think we're funny, because I know there's probably two of you out there. Maybe. I hope.
You know, I like to pretend that two people listen to us. And I
And
think as long as
I
we
said listen to us and
and think
think
we're
we're
funny.
funny. Right.
Fair
Yeah,
point.
that's a tall bar.
Oh God, already like the listening to us part already is
Right.
enough.
Never
Like,
mind. Actually are
never mind.
amused in any way by us. I mean, we're
Damn.
amused by us, but we don't count.
That's all that fucking matters. Sorry. I didn't mean to like go on a tangent there. Continue.
That is what we do best.
That is true. ADHD,
Vic
baby.
Victor says the rules are for the Jules' longevity, but Henry is different. So he invites everyone to partake. They each may whip him as hard as they would like. 5 strikes each.
I was singing, I whip my hair back and forth.
They're going to actually hurt him, not hit their hair at him. If some I would have laughed my ass off if like Ben or Stewart had hopped on that stage and like took a slave's hair and just like whipped Henry with it. Sorry. It just would have been very amusing. Given some levity to this book, some light moments. The guard who chained Henry up also took a chance and whispered in Henry's ear that Christmas is in 2 days. So Henry, confused, somehow also with this finds a renewed strength. During Ben's turn, he whispers that he hopes he still has the cufflinks. Weird. Remember that. Which also makes Henry confused because he's like, what the fuck, dude? Where have you been? Henry wakes up after this ordeal to Dr. Belford tending him again. She's quite sick of Victor trying to kill him. She gives him yet another pain relief shot to get him through the next day. One more day until Christmas. Victor says it's time for Henry's reward. And he tries to fuck with their minds or test them or both, or some kind of, you never know what Victor's thinking, by putting hoods over their heads and having them fuck each other with the thought that going in that it was someone else as a reward.
What is his thought process?
He's just weird. He's just, I think he was trying to prove a point that if he didn't know that it was Illy, he wouldn't want whoever it was, not realizing that their connection was more than just I can see
It's
her.
true. They can feel
But it
each other.
backfired. It backfired on him. Yeah. Yeah, it backfired on him. We quickly learn, though, that this is Victor's version of goodbye for them, and he makes his intentions clear that Illy's diamond kiss will take place now. Victor has the knife and starts to slice into Illy's throat at the edge of the collar. Henry is going wild trying to break his chains when all of a sudden the room explodes in bullets flying. Masters falling to the ground, others attempting to flee. Victor catches a bullet in the shoulder, and then boom! The entire island feels like an earthquake hit it as part of the fortress blows up. Victor didn't find all the bombs after all, did he? I don't know. We'll find out. Another goes off. The sprinklers kick on as another bomb hits. Illy is trying to hold pressure on her wound as blood is streaming. Then Victor grabs her by the hair, runs to the door that's open onto the deck, dragging Illy behind him. Stewart comes and unshackles Henry, and Henry runs after them. Victor is dragging Illy through the gardens, frustrated at her weakness and ability to keep up. Illy is like, fuck this, and attempts to muster any strength left to lunge at Victor. Victor starts strangling her, though, and her body is very weakened. A bullet comes from the hedges and catches Victor in the leg, and Molly steps out, holding a gun, pointing it right at Victor. Yeah! Cheers all around! She smiles and goes to fire right at Victor's face, when a shot from above tears right through her forehead. Less cheers, less cheers. Victor's snipers. Feeling newly protected, Victor takes off. Illy throws herself behind the hedges to try to avoid the bullets. Another boom shakes the castle, and Illy runs into the chaos. There are masters and Jules fighting everywhere. Peter, strapped with a sword, not looking as weak as he should, finds her. Illy's world is spinning due to blood loss. Peter is determined to try to get her to Dr. Belford, if they can even find her. Peter explains that Stewart started the shooting and then Ben and the guards that they had procured followed, that they had help from an engineer who used gunpowder to make new bombs. Ben and Stewart's jewels, Abby and Penny, as well as the newer jewels, really helped take up the mantle in leading this new revolution. Ben caught up to Henry running after Illy and handed him a pair of pants and a machine gun. He explains that they were going to wait for Christmas as planned, but watching Victor try to kill Illy, they knew they needed to start now. He explains it was their software that created the scrambler net for Victor, so they hacked into it and turned the scrambler off long enough to call, and he's cut off by a nearby scream. They find Roland over a jewel holding down the remote, shocking her, with another jewel yelling beside him, trying to scratch at him. Henry swings his gun like a bat right at Roland's head. He keeps swinging until Roland is thoroughly bludgeoned. Take that, Roland!
Fuck that dude. Fucking hated Roland so much.
Fuck Roland.
Right?
Larry steps out and shoots Henry in the side. But don't worry, Rachel comes out of nowhere and shoots down Larry. Pregnant Rachel, ready to battle. Wild.
I mean, she's a badass bitch.
Yeah. Illy and Peter find Henry and Ben, where they seem to be in the middle of a master versus slave battlefield. Henry is unleashing his crazy and really doing damage, even in his weakened state. He's sure going to feel all of that when the shot Dr. Belford gave him wears off. Illy sees the drawbridge open in the distance, and then Victor. She shouts to Henry that Victor's going to escape. Henry takes off after Victor with a promise to bring him back for Illy. A guard on their side takes out a master gunning for Peter and then tells them where Dr. Belford and most of the jewels are gathering, that they're just about done there. Illy grabs a gun from a fallen master and Peter guides her towards the meet point, knowing that they still have to keep their guard up. On their way, Peter stops and looks in terror over Illy's shoulder and quickly spins them around in time to take a bullet, causing them both to go down. Their side sends bullets flying at whoever made the shot. But with Peter's dying weight on top of her, she felt the little she had left, letting go, not able to fight the pull any longer. Henry finds Victor high in the battlements with 4 guards seemingly waiting for him, saying that his plane is almost ready and once in the air he will just bomb the whole place, that he should take Henry with him so that he can have entertainment until he can rebuild better. Victor taunts Henry, asking how it feels to know Ileana's dead.
Side note, I wish she stayed dead. I knew it wasn't going to happen, but like.
I wish a lot of people stayed dead.
Same.
He says he's lying. Henry turns to the guards and says if his cameras really are still working, they should have a look for themselves and see what's really going on. That all the other guards switched sides and fought for their way out too. Those men are choosing to get to go home. Victor's yelling, demanding for Henry to be gagged until he finally just pulls out his gun and fires at Henry, but a guard hits his arm, causing the shot to miss. And then, as one, all 4 guards pin down Victor. Henry asks for a knife. One of the guards says Henry isn't in charge. They need to go down and see for themselves before anything. Henry says $1 million for a knife. That works. And Henry cuts both Victor's Achilles tendons, puts a sock in his mouth, and ties Victor's hands behind his back and says take him down to the jewels. On their way, helicopters descend down upon them. The big one with the Q and Sparrow. Stewart is all excited, saying, it worked, it worked! And Ben quickly tries to explain again about them calling Q. Men come out with Q. Q stalks over to Henry, raises a gun, and tells him he's going to kill him. Henry grabs Victor and runs towards what's left of the castle, Q trailing behind him, but the meds have worn off and Henry doesn't feel invincible anymore. In fact, he feels everything, including falling with Victor and Q catching up and kicking him in his cracked ribs. Q's yelling about how his family was in danger because of him, that he's not his family, that he's just like his father. Victor's yelling to kill Henry, that he's a monster, to help him. Q points his gun. Ben and Stewart, just in time, leap forward like, wait, we were the ones who called you. Henry helped save all the jewels. He's been being tortured for months. Open your eyes, dude. Victor's like, no, help me. They're just as bad as Henry. The guards introduce Victor, and Q goes still, and then goes to carve out Victor's heart for Tess, because that's what he does. But Henry stops him, saying his death belongs to the jewels. He calls out for Peter only to see a crowd gathered looking at something else. He drags himself toward them, like, no, not possible. Ben tells Q to give the knife to the jewels, and he hears them start to go at it as he sees what they had previously been standing over. Peter, on his back, face at peace, and Illy lying next to him, soaked in blood. He scoops Illy into his lap, pleading with her over and over, until Q grabs his shoulder, tells him she's gone. Henry grabs Q's gun and aims it right at his own head and pulls the trigger.
Or so
So,
we think.
we could have left it there.
Sorry.
And we could have had the remainder of however many chapters in Q's point of view cleaning up the mess. We could have had a little bit of leftover of Q and Tess, and I would not have been mad.
That is not what we got. Ariel, are you salty about it?
A little bit. A little bit.
Ariel just
We're not-
really
we're
loves
not
when
nec-
everybody dies.
Well, I just don't like, and we're not necromancers over here. We don't need to just keep bringing people back from the dead.
Technically, they're not really dead.
How many times were we declared medically dead? Some people?
Shh. That's just logic. We don't have that here.
Unfortunately, fortunately, Henry wakes to the chaos in the helicopter and Dr. Belford working on him, and then falls back unconscious. 6 days of going in and out, dreaming of different worlds of Illy. He wakes to Q and Tess in a room with him. Q tells him about his injuries. He was pretty out of it at the end there on the island, and Q was able to punch him and knock him out before he actually was able to shoot the gun. Wah, wah, wah. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call an unreliable narrator when you have first-person POV.
Yup.
Q tells him that Victor is now in many, many, many pieces, that the jewels got quite creative. Henry asks about Q's son. He ended up having to grow up a little faster than intended in those moments, but he's doing well. Q apologizes for not getting to Henry sooner. Henry tells him he would like to rest now, but really he just wants to be with Illy. Q's no dummy. He asks Henry if he loves her. Henry says with every useless part of him. Q asks if she loves Henry. Henry says it doesn't matter anymore. She's dead. Q asks Henry if he hurt her. Henry says yes. He asks if Henry enjoyed it and then if she forgave him. Henry said she understood and accepted him. Q asks if he's angry Q didn't let him die. Henry says he's livid. Q tells him that he needs to show him something. Henry's not having it. He wants to be left alone in peace to die. Q yanks him out of bed and carts him out the door. Through the hall, some of the doors are open, and Henry can see a few jewels that are still healing before going home to their families. Rachel runs out to the hall to hug him, glad to see him alive. Q opens the door to a room and motions Henry inside. On the bed is Illy, hooked up to all sorts of wires and tubes, and a doctor with her explaining that she's in a coma. She had a bullet lodged in her sternum, but the bullet had clearly gone through another first, so took the brunt of the speed. She lost too much blood, though, and Rachel did a direct donation in the helicopter to give her a chance. She went too long with too little blood, and she legally died while getting the bullet out. If she even wakes up, there's quite a chance for significant damage. Henry holds Illy's hand and tells her he's not letting her go. Henry camps in Illy's room, refusing to leave, talking to her, trying to get her to wake up. Rachel even comes in to chat with her a bit, and then she asks Henry if he will still be the baby's godfather, that he protected them when he could have given in, that he knows how to learn and see right and fix it, and she wants that role model for her son. Q walks in, clearly hearing this delicate ask, but stays anyways, and Rachel says that she will see him the next day and takes off before he can answer. Q tells Henry he needs sleep and motions to men in the hall to carry in a bed into the room for Henry to be able to stay.
I just love how angry you are.
Just a little salty.
I mean, I get it. I could make you less salty, but I don't want to.
I am
I'll do
like
when
the
we have.
ocean.
You are. You're like the ocean. You're also, as I've compared to you before, you are also like the ramen seasoning packet.
Cheap.
I was going salty. You're the one who said cheap. Not me. Let the record state, I did not call Ariel cheap.
I am the white trash of foods. Thank you, Crystal.
First of all, take that back. Because listen, no, listen to me. There are some extremely good ramen that is not the cheap.
Oh, absolutely. But you compared me to the salt packet that comes in the white trash version.
There are also no. There are non-white trash versions that it's a seasoning packet. Every instant ramen comes with seasoning packets, and not just the white trash version. Again, I did not call Ariel white trash. She's literally calling herself white trash. I was just comparing her to how salty
I compared
she is. That shit's
me
salty.
to the majestic ocean, and Crystal called me white trash.
Well, fuck you. I did no such thing. I was just trying to call you extra salty, okay? Because I feel like those salt packets are saltier than the ocean, and you can go fuck yourself. You live so far away. This is to my disadvantage. I am getting attacked.
Who lives in a ramen packet and is salty as fuck.
I want it to be known that I am getting attacked on our own podcast.
Anywho, over 2 weeks of pleading for Illy to wake up at her bedside, Henry is feeling lost and desolate. By day, he holds her hand and talks to her, urging her to wake up. By night, he is plagued by nightmares of Illy wanting him to hurt her. He's barely eating, though his wounds seem to be doing their best to try to heal. Q comes in and says to follow him. Henry doesn't want to leave Illy until she wakes up. Q says he needs fresh air and that he will have him carried if need be. Rachel comes in and says she'll keep Illy company for him. Henry follows Q up to the roof. Q apologizes for sending him away the night they met. He admits Henry reminded him too much of himself pre-test and it scared him. Henry asks Q if he's sure Victor is dead. Very. And asks about the other masters. Q shows him a list on his phone of names, showing the ones that have already been taken care of, which is most of them. There are a few that weren't there that night that they are ticking through. And showing him a list of businesses and clubs that are involved that they're also ticking through. He even points to one, explaining that that's the one they're hitting next. Q says, but that's not what I wanted to talk to you about. He explains that Illy's family will be arriving the next day. He's wondering if Henry should give them space. Henry doesn't want to leave her. Henry asks Q how he balances the darkness inside with his wife, but then they hear Rachel screaming for Henry. They run. 2 doctors are trying to bring back a crashing Illy. She's flatlining. Rachel is pleading for them to keep trying. Q goes to get the other doctor. Henry, feeling hopeless that she's gone, pockets Q's phone that was still in his hand from looking at the list and runs outside, sees a car in the driveway, and gets in and drives. So now Illy's dead twice. She's going to be legally dead twice. Going to put that on the table here.
You do know that that does happen, and that can happen.
I do.
You just make it sound like it doesn't happen.
I'm just sprinkling.
Frustrated.
I need like, what is that, like that salt bay that just kind of sprinkles the salt? I need my own bowl of
We're
salt.
going to continue with the salt here.
I need my own bowl of salt that I just like throw at the camera.
Yes.
Too bad this is not visual for everyone. So
one day, the problem is editing the regular episode audio is enough.
Yeah. One day. Okay. 18 hours later, Illy wakes up. No way. Salt.
So fucking done with you.
Salt in the wound like you're laughing right at me. Hey, you know what? I was actually on board for this. I was team Illy and Henry. I was okay with her waking up. Now that they were both alive, I was okay with them waking up. When they were both dead, I was okay with them both dead. But now that they were both alive, I was okay with her waking up. I just want that record to be clear. I was just being a little salty in that moment. Yeah, so 18 hours later, Illy wakes up to her brother Krish sitting next to her, petting a rabbit. She's trying to determine what is real, if this is a dream, if she's dead. She don't really know. She asks about Henry. Krish doesn't know a Henry. She asks where they are. He says the man with the black heart's home. Illy asks him to help fill in what's going on. Like, can you, like, help me a little, bud? He explains how she left. She left him, and everyone was upset and so loud. And he found the rabbit named Tiger at the park trying to get quiet, and Tiger followed him home. Tiger helps him. He doesn't need her anymore. He has Tiger, but he's glad she's back. Illy's mother comes in, sees she's awake, and starts sobbing. Illy tries to ask about Peter and Henry, but her mom doesn't know who she's talking about. Her dad and Q walk in, and her dad gets his greetings in, and Illy asks what happened, where Peter and Henry are. Q asks to talk to Illy privately. Q says he's assuming Henry didn't lie and that she's in love with him. Illy starts asking questions about where he is again. Q tells her he was there the whole time until he witnessed her die and then he drove away. She says, "Where?" Q says to hunt, and I need your help before he does something stupid. He tells her he's going after him and hands her a phone and says to keep trying to call him to let him know that you're alive. The car Henry borrowed was one of the doctor's. Henry easily changed into spare clothes from a bag in the trunk. He put the phone that would not stop ringing in airplane mode and drove to the address closest from the list of men. He drove all night, and by morning he was knocking on the man's door and shoving him inside and killed him with a knife from the kitchen. He just so happened to interrupt the man going through his safe, so Henry takes everything, including a gun, with him, finding a live feed to a tied up girl. He finds her in one of the rooms and releases her binds and hands her the phone he grabbed from the dude's pocket and leaves. The next name was in the same town. Henry knocks on his door and shoots him point blank and walks in and shoots his buddy too. Pictures of girls laid out clearly in the middle of something. 2 days of trying to call and text, and nothing has gone through for Illy. Q returns and explains that Henry seems to be one step ahead. He even ditched the phone. Q came back to gather men to help, now realizing it isn't as easy as he thought, as easy as just going out by himself and retrieving him. Q tells Illy that her parents want to leave tomorrow. She says she can't leave. Q says he will call her when he gets Henry back, that she can't stay. He's gone and she needs to move on and go back to her life, which I thought was a little harsh, but
Just a little bit.
especially since he lets anyone else stay for as long as they need to. But, I think he was still super skeptical about like their relationship.
Well, yeah.
3 weeks later, and she is just miserable and lost at her parents' home, not able to get off the island fully in her mind. She worries that no one talked to Peter's family and searches the internet based off clues he shares and finds them a few hours away. She decides to go see them. She rings their doorbell, and seeing the similar face, she breaks down right on the doorstep, sobbing. The parents usher her inside, asking if she's all right. Illy explains that she's a friend of their son. They argue. He's been gone, dead, for 5 years. She says he died last month, saving her life. They're in disbelief. Their son had been alive this whole time. They even had services 3 years ago for him when they finally gave up. They ask her to tell them everything. She does. Henry managed to bribe someone to skipper him at the docks across to Europe, where he continued down the list. He's running away from a guarded mansion where he managed to slaughter those inside when he is shot in the leg by a guard outside before he made it to his stolen car. At least this house he shot and stabbed them, whereas the last place he decided to finally perform the diamond kiss 5 times. It was harder than he thought. Henry figures he might be able to get to one more house before he bleeds out. One more before he gets to join Illy, and heads that way. Illy is woken up by Q calling, asking her to fly and meet him. People are gathering in an attempt to take out Henry. It's not good. They need to get to him before they do. He's taken out 34 of Q's list already. Q's worried Henry won't believe him about Illy without proof. He will meet her in Tuscany. Henry has secured his belt as a tourniquet and has walked straight into the target house, ready for battle, only to find it empty. Is it a trap? He pulls out a grenade and tosses it into the next room, and then he surrenders himself, feeling that this is his last moment, that he can finally be done. Only when he opens his eyes through the smoke, he sees Illy. Actually, Illy, crying and crawling into his arms. Q steps out behind her, and then Henry finally passes out. It took 4 days for Henry to wake up. Illy's turn to sit at his bedside. When he wakes, they smile and cry and kiss, and Henry licks away her tears, saying he always loved the taste of her tears, but this time, were the best, because he can taste happiness in them. A month later, They're still trying to navigate this new reality that doesn't quite seem believable. They spend all their time together, some evenings joining Q and Tess, almost struggling with how content they are. Not once had Henry tried to seduce Illy, afraid that he would crave her pain and not wanting to hurt her. Illy breaks the ice, though, and tells him she wants him and that they should go inside from their walk. He explains his fear. She reminds him she likes what he does to her, what they have. He tries to protest, saying, I love you, little nightmare. I won't. And she interrupts by asking why he calls her that. He says, because she terrifies him more than anything. She's the only one who has the power to make him break, and has, but somehow she puts him back together again. She tells him he needs to stop constantly making her fall in love with him. He takes her hand and leads her inside to their room, quickly shedding their clothes and going at one another. They're passionate, but Henry holds back, not wanting to hurt her. Illy asks for it, saying she doesn't think she can finish without. He pleads with her not to make him, and she tries, and they both do finish, just neither fully satisfied. The next morning, Q and Tess knock on their door and say they need to show them something. They get dressed, and they all go to the hospital. A doctor meets them and apologizes for the mix-up, that they had tried to confirm identities, but this patient just became communicative. There were 3 levels of people basically coming off the island. Those with minor injuries, Q was able to send home that were ready. Those that needed to stay longer or worse injuries at Q's place, and some too severe that were sent to the hospital. They are all led to a door, and Illy and Henry are told to go inside. And they find Peter on the bed.
Peter should have stayed dead.
And where the fuck did your savagery go, Pepper? I want to know. Where is it? I don't see it. Why do you like Peter? I want to know. Why is he your homeboy? Why are you holding on to him? He's not mine. He could have died. I would have been happy for him to be dead. I don't need him to have a reprisal. Just fucking die and stay dead, motherfucker. Is it too much to ask for Peter to fucking die?
I guess so.
Pepper, what are you doing to me?
Ariel's so fucking salty.
I would have rather fucking Victor lived chained and fucking collared than have Peter live.
Jesus.
I mean, he would have had to be chained and collared, but you know, what the fuck?
Sorry.
That's how I feel. It just started to pour. Henry wants to know how. Well, fucking me too, buddy. Me fucking too. Peter says the bullet deflated his lung, but one of Q's men were able to puncture him at the scene, releasing the pressure, giving him a chance. And then he was in a coma until now. I don't like any of that. None of that works for me. Peter says he needs,
No, thank you.
No.
Sorry.
I'm just trying to think of what I would trade for Peter to die. Probably almost anything. Everyone can just die.
Yeah.
Okay. So in my version of the story, this scene did not happen. So if you're like me, go la 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 for about like maybe 20 more seconds. So Peter says he needs to call his parents, and a panicked Illy spills about going to see them and telling them all. He decides he's going to go surprise them like the fucking psychopath he is. Because now all of a sudden he's full of pepping vinegar. So yeah, Q arranges for that to happen, a doctor going with him, of course, and you can unplug your ears now for those who needed to. The next day, Q and Tess, almost nervously, almost awkwardly, hand Henry and Illy a key and ask them to stay, not to move out. That the gatehouse is theirs, and they hope that they choose to stay and live there. They go to check it out, agreeing to stay, but telling each other that they need jobs and to pay rent or something. Illy says her passion was always gemstones, but she might need to go back to school for a different path. Yeah, you think?
I would think so, especially after all that shit. No, thank you.
Yep, right? Henry kneels down and asks Illy to marry him with a piece of wool as a string ring because of the aversion to gems. She said she did, under no circumstances does she want a diamond ring. She says yes. She says she loves all of him and that he needs to agree to hurt her, but only when she asks and only in private. He needs to agree to these terms. They both agree, and they christen their new house, Henry biting her neck as she finishes. And that, believe it or not, is the end of our main story. we're going to move into our epilogues because there's a few. Epilogue 1 is 6 months later. Henry has tracked down all the surviving jewels and connected them all via group chat because, sometimes they might be the only ones who understand what they're going through and when things trigger them. Rachel had the baby, Henry's godson, because he accepted. Ben, Stuart, Henry, and Q are working together. Stuart and Ben developed a software to track and flag keywords, and it has already helped Henry and Q find more traffickers. Henry has taken down 17 more himself. Ben and Stuart were happily married to Abby and Penny. Illy tells Henry that she's pregnant. Henry's distraught, thinking about all that took place on the island and also his genes passing down, but Illy reassures him, and they are happy and kiss. And Henry feels the need to fuck her right in that moment. Illy's like, you already impregnated me. You can't do it twice. And he just says, watch me. And then we have epilogue 2, which is a year later. They have a daughter, Preeti, and it's Henry and Illy's wedding day. Henry had a ring custom made to look like the woolen string he proposed with. So did Illy. She also went and had a custom ring made to look the exact same separately. So now they each have a one-of-a-kind ring that is not one of a kind. They are identical almost. Hugh also shows that while checking out the island to see if anything was salvageable, they found footage of Victor's demise if Henry feels like any of the jewels need to see it, especially ones like Illy that did not get to participate.
Which
So
would make sense.
cool beans. Yeah, right.
I
Like,
want to.
because especially when Illy woke up, she almost had trouble believing that he was really dead because she didn't get to witness it herself.
Yeah.
Epilogue 3 is a year and a half later, and it's in Q's POV. We learn the plan he had in place for Lino, his son, and how Victor was unsuccessful in kidnapping him because of the plan he has had since he was born. And once he had that inkling with that phone call, he put that into place. And that's how he was able to thwart that. We also learn Henry finished writing his memoir/novel. He made it into a fiction book. It's like fact, but written as fiction. So the only people who knows it's fact are the people who were actually there because it's so unbelievable.
Well, yeah.
And he gave it to Q to read. And epilogue 4 is in Peter's point of view, and it's a couple of years later. I almost chose not to read it, but then I remembered that I actually had to explain this to people, and then I got bummed and read it. So I'm nosy. So Illy's pregnant again. Peter is married now to a girl named Lucy, and they are at a bookstore and find Henry's book on the shelf. The dedication of his book being to every jewel who survived the pressures of being formed in hell. This book isn't for you. It's for all those who didn't know, for those who think diamonds are pure when we know they're nothing but blood and darkness. Nothing on earth is as strong. Nothing cuts as sharply. That is what you are now. You are a diamond that didn't shatter. If you're reading this book and clutching your pearls at the graphicness, then you should be grateful that it's fiction. If you're reading this book and find yourself reaching for a gun, then be aware that it is fact. Monsters surround us. This is how to destroy them. From one beast to another. Happy hunting. And I just kind of wanted to end this on that because I want to circle back to the beginning of the entire series where Pepper warned us and talked about this at the beginning. A lot of her books and series tend to stem around human trafficking because it is a serious subject for her that she feels does not get enough attention and is not talked about enough, and that people are not aware that it truly happens this much and that it truly is this frequent.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people just kind of bury their head and try to think that, oh, it's just something I read about, or oh, it's just something that we see on TV, or like, oh, well, that can't happen to me, like this, but it can literally happen to anybody, and it
Anyone.
is anyone, anywhere. Like, It's huge. It's a really big problem. And yeah.
Yeah. And for those in the United States that go, oh, well, that only happens to people who don't pay attention on vacations, that's not true either. I think I literally just saw an article that said the rising number of, it was like listing the states and like percentage, like the rising number of things that they knew and could prove of people that
Yeah.
were trafficked in these states. And that's only that are known and
Hmm.
proven, never mind the people that just disappear. And yes, a lot of like the high population areas, like I think one of the top ones that are like exploding out of nowhere is Florida for whatever
Hmm.
reason, being that busy, bustling, like near the ports area. But it also is happening in like other areas that don't have the water right nearby. You just have to be aware and be aware that it's happening and that other people are experiencing things like this.
And it just a big thing is it a lot of them utilize bigger cities. There's a lot of like I know, I believe it's is it in South Carolina? That beach, Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, a lot of them
Myrtle
use
Beach
like
is
tourist destinations and whatnot. Yeah.
yes, Myrtle Beach is a big one.
But not all of them. Some of them
But
use like middle of
well,
nowhere
no,
places. And yeah.
yeah. So for statistics, because I just pulled this up for
Okay.
2024, there are 49.6 million people in modern slavery worldwide, and 12 million of them are children. 54% of those trapped
That's a lot
are
of
women
people.
and girls. 54% are women and girls. Sex trafficking is the most common type of trafficking. There were
And that's only what is known.
mhm, there were 88 million child sexual abuse the CSAM reported reported in
Yep.
2022. So that's not even like new stuff. So it's very common, and people will use different tactics to take you, and it's like there's just so much, and it would be silly to think that it can't happen to you. So the biggest thing is just be aware, get educated. And I know that there are definitely a lot of resources out there where if you're suspecting trafficking that you can report it to like authorities and stuff like that. There's also bars and everything that have stuff in bathrooms. I've seen it plenty of times on
And
the
be
back of bathroom
aware,
doors.
not only for yourself, but be aware of other people
Hmm.
that might be in situations that might need help and you're not being aware of your surroundings and you could be a help to them. I know that this book and those situations don't have romantic elements.
No,
This is a work of fiction to get people's eyes on a subject. That's not
there,
like real,
but
but it's
you are
causing a
also
conversation.
there is also a high probability. I actually heard this today or yesterday. I watch a lot of true crime,
Mhm.
an aggressive
Of
amount.
like a Stockholm type of situation.
No,
Oh,
so you are more likely to get sex trafficked by somebody you know,
somebody you know, right? Well, look at what happened in this book. It was
her
caused by the
boyfriend.
boyfriend causing a scene, and in Tears of Tess, which was the series that this is a spinoff from, Tess was literally sold by her boyfriend.
Yep. Yeah, it can be a
He
boyfriend, it can
sold
be a
her,
friend, it can be a family
and it was
member.
just he
That's
just
high
needed quick
too.
cash. Yeah.
Being trafficked by your own family is a high number
Mm-hmm.
too. So it's just it's not just people you don't know, because it could be somebody you actually know causing this. So it is like you got to be so aware of your surroundings, and like Ariel said, making sure also pay attention to other people too, especially you're out. Like I
There
know
are
that if I
signs.
see some
Yep.
there are signs, and if I know that if I've ever seen anyone who looks uncomfortable, that's when you're like, hey, and like just kind of enter the conversation. Just it's a lot. And yes, well, this is a work of fiction. This shit happens often, and it's a very big problem.
Yes. And on that note, the Jewelry Box series has come to an end. What a crazy ride. But for Diamond Kisses, who was your favorite character?
Probably gonna have to be Q and Tess at this point, because actually, you know what?
I don't know. Rachel had some boss
I
bitch
was
moves.
literally gonna actually say Rachel, the pregnant
She
lady,
had
loved
some
her.
fucking
She,
boss bitch
yeah,
moves.
Pretty much any of the jewels
Coming
who
out with a
likes
freaking machine gun, like
bro,
7 months
yeah.
pregnant. Like,
Yeah. So we'll do that. That works.
who was your least favorite character?
How much time do you have?
Just pick one for now.
Ugh,
Your least.
shit. I don't know. Let me think on it. How about you?
Only because this is my last chance to say this, but Peter, because he came back from the dead and I felt like he should have stayed dead.
I literally was gonna say that, but I didn't know if I should.
I can say that.
I mean,
I felt like Pepper did me a disservice and she felt a loyalty to Peter. It was even like in the note at the end that the book was kind of like for him too. And I just felt like she had this connection to him that's why she saved him. And I like let the fuck go of him. Let him die.
yeah. Let him die. Insert the Lorax. Let it die. Let it die.
Let him shrivel up and die.
We may be 1,000 miles apart, but we are still here in the brain together. That's funny. Oh my god. And we can't rate it. Well,
this book
we
just
don't have,
came out.
It just came
We don't
out,
have
so.
enough to. So what did you rate this?
I gave it a 4, which is probably, I think, the lower of all of them that I've
Yep.
done. And realistically, it was because it could have ended earlier and I would have been fine with it. I understand doing more, get their story, blah, blah, blah. Peter should have stayed dead. Wow.
So I also gave this 4 stars
Crazy.
because Peter should have fucking stayed dead.
The fact that Peter not dying knocked a star
That's not
No,
my
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying things
Also, some of the timing kind of was a little wonky in some places. It was fine. It all made sense. But some of the chapters you had to like wait a little bit to find out like what was going on and where you were. It was a little jumpy in some of the later chapters as you were going that felt a little disjointed, I want to say. It wasn't as flowy as everything else because up until this point, all of the rest of the books have flowed consistently. And then we got to like a good chunk of chapters where I felt that were a little disjointed. And I realized that is probably due to how basically on the brink of death they both were. And it's in their point of views and the unreliable narrator aspect. But sometimes it's hard as a reader for things to go from smooth to be so disjointy. So that was not my favorite. Peter should have fucking died. I'm going to say that again. And I felt that some of it was dragged out in places and some of it was not dragged out in places. Like I felt like some things that I wish were dragged out more weren't. And some like Victor, for instance, I wanted a little bit more for him. And some of the masters. And
especially considering how much of an integral part of the story he's been this whole time.
Right. And I
feel like we got
think
shafted.
I remember when Tess finally got to have her moment and it felt so vindicated. And I just didn't feel like that. I didn't feel that redemption moment with Victor. I just felt like that's it. He's just dead now kind of thing. Yes. Him his slicing the back of his heels were good and everything. But that wasn't like Illy's moment. That wasn't the Jules moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just, none of it was bad per se. 4 solid stars. Compared to the rest of the series, it kind of tapered off a little bit for me.
Yeah. Controversial opinion. I think Illy should have just stayed dead.
I would have been okay with that too.
Her and Peter. And they're just
I would have been, like I said.
Listen, okay.
Henry and Peter and Illy all could have stayed dead. And then we could have wrapped it all up no, this would have been perfect for those.
I'll tell you mine.
Okay, but this would have been perfect for those who have been along this journey and this ride since Tears of Tess, because those of us who are like, oh yes, I want to be in this because of them, like we're going into this continuously from them, like wrap them up, everyone's dead, great, and then the rest of the book is Q and Tess's point of view and wrap them up beautifully this many years later with their son figuring out this aftermath. In my opinion.
Okay, hear me out.
If they're going to kill them off or just leave Peter dead.
Right. So hear me out. Kill off Illy, kill off Peter. Henry stays alive. Then Henry just goes on his vengeance mission. And then Q is trying to clean up after him. He's on his vengeance mission. And then he dies. After he's gotten all his vengeance on everybody, he realizes,
Goes out
oh,
swinging.
I can't. Yeah, he's got to go out swinging. I would have been here for that. That would be fine for me. Sorry. What have you turned me into, Ariel?
I mean, we're just here for the ride now.
And the ride's
I hope
over.
You are here for the ride too. Have we been cucumber rating these?
No. How about survivability, Ariel?
Dead, dead, dead.
I'd be dead. I would be so dead.
Dead, dead, dead.
I would have been very dead at this point.
Yeah. So now that this ride is over, sadly, I guess it's just time to see what we're going to read next week.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there's not much left to choose from.
And by the time we're done with our wheel, we have so many things in store for you for the next 3 months.
So much room for activities.
I know. Once September is over, we have so many fun plans. To us. It's fun for us. And the two of you. Anyways.
Yeah, and the two of you. We hope.
Alrighty. We have 3 books left on the wheel, so let's see what we're reading next. We're going to be reading Little Stranger.
Okay. Little Stranger by Lee Rivers. It is a dark taboo romance. Crystal's favorite. Owning her is all he ever wanted. She betrayed him, and now he wants revenge against the foster sister who became his forbidden obsession the second he laid eyes on her. After she sends him to prison for years, he's finally free and ready to haunt her. Everything about Olivia belongs to Malachi Vise. Her mind, her body, her soul, her fear, and her pain. On Halloween night, he can no longer lurk in the shadows. All he has left to own is her heart, even if he needs to take it. Oh, this would have been a good one to wait until October to read.
I know. I was going to say this would have been a good one to put as our last one of the month.
Yeah. Oh, that's a bummer. I brought this one to the table because I wanted to push myself a little bit and push our boundaries. I know we do that in other ways, but we don't do it as much with some of our, no, I don't like that. But I wanted to explore some of that taboo romance that isn't typically my favorite and see if I could like it in different ways because everyone loves this book and I just wanted to try it.
Credence is another one that people really like.
And I think we're going to try that one. It keeps getting recommended to us.
Yep. But we're trying to push our boundaries, and this will be really pushing my boundaries because here we are.
Buckle up.
So, with that,
make sure to keep reading
and keep it smutty.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, fuck.